Hi everyone, this is Jerry. This video is for the chess player and mathematician. I'll present two problems, both of which are interrelated. The first is a chess problem created by the problemist in 1991, and I will illustrate an answer. The second is a chess/mathematics problem, and I will not be giving an answer because I don't have one. Instead, I will be simply posing a question to the world to see if anyone out there can determine the solution and prove it. So first off, the chess problem. From this position here, it's white to play and checkmate in 24 moves. If you would like to, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure it out. Let's start out by looking at the white pieces. There are many pieces which should not move in this position, namely this bishop on e1. If it were to move, let's say, to the f2 square, the pawn could push forward, get a queen, and there'd be a discovered check against the white king. So moving this bishop is not a good choice. Moving this king to either c5, c3, or d3 is not good either, because the black king would then be able to sneak away via the b5 square or b3 square. Also, this pawn that's on b2 should not move 1 or 2 squares forward, because the black king could then make use of the a3 square. Also, this pawn should not move forward, because if it does, this square is no longer guarded by the bishop. And because of that, this knight can now make use of that square, and then maybe hop here on the next turn and not worry about being captured by a bishop, because if it is, this pawn would be able to move forward, and once again this bishop would be giving discovered check to the white king. Unfortunately for white, the only piece which could move is the bishop. The king, pawn, the king and two pawns, and bishop here can't move. The bishop on a8 is the only one which could move, and it doesn't have very many choices. In fact, the only safe square that it can move to, the only square which is unprotected, is the h1 square. Every square in between these two are guarded by the black pieces, whether it be by the black knights, bishop, or pawn. This bishop is guarding g2, we have the knight guarding f3, e4, the pawn hits d5. Every square is covered by the knights, pawn, and bishop. As a result, white's first move has to be bishop to h1. Considering now the black side, black is constrained in many ways as well. The first thing to note is that the black king simply can't move. There are no legal squares for the king to move to. Also, this knight on d8 shouldn't move, because the bishop can make use of the c6 square and deliver checkmate. So he's out of the ball game. This knight here, if he were to move, let's say, to f7, the bishop can make use of e4, and soon enough this bishop will be coming to c2 to deliver checkmate. So he's out. He's out. What else is left? Well, if this bishop moves to g2, we just take the bishop, and let's say a pawn push is made. We now come to b4, not having to worry about this discovered check thing going on, with the next move being pawn to b3, and that would be mate. So unfortunately for black, the knights and bishop shouldn't move, because checkmate would ensue very quickly. So what it comes down to from this position is that black does best to prolong checkmate by moving his h-pawns forward until a certain point. And similarly, on the white end, white does best to just oscillate the bishop from corner to corner, since those are the only safe squares for the bishop to go to. So this is what it looks like. We have pawn pushes by black. In the meantime, the bishop just keeps going back and forth. And this is a critical position right here. This pawn can move 1 or 2 squares forward, but as black you want to prolong checkmate for as long as possible. So we have just going a single square. And another point which is important is this one right here, because if the pawn pushes again, that wouldn't be any good, because the bishop could come to h1 and none of these pawns could move forward. And now black is forced to move either knight or bishop, and that would just speed up the checkmating process. So the way to avoid that is to always allow these pawns some movement. So that's why we have black going ahead and promoting on h1 right now. And we just take, and we have a similar thing going on once again, where the pawns keep going, and once again black does not push forward here because of bishop here, and they would all be blocked. So we have black queening yet again, just gets taked, and a similar process goes on. Bishop takes queen, pawn to h2, bishop to a8. Another key point is right here where we don't queen because that would allow checkmate quicker than 24 moves, but instead we play knight to b7, bishop takes knight, and only now queen, bishop takes queen, bishop to g2, bishop takes bishop, and now a knight move to f3, or the knight could have even gone to e4. As white, we should not take the bishop because this would now be stalemate. Instead, we make the move bishop to b4, and the only way to prevent checkmate is to play knight takes pawn or knight to d2 from this position. Let's just say knight takes pawn. We now have pawn takes knight, and after pawn to e1 promoting, we have pawn to b3, which is checkmate. Or we could have played bishop to c6, and that would be checkmate as well. What I just showed was only one variation which results in white checkmating black in 24 moves. For the second problem, the chess/mathematics problem, the one for which I have no solution, I will state it as this. Assuming best play in this position and with white to play first, how many different variations result with white checkmating black in 24 moves? My comments are that the solution to this problem is a ridiculously large number, and I have yet to come across any other checkmate puzzle with as many variations for checkmate as this one. Maybe someday the answer will be known. My guess is that this video is far more likely to obtain millions of views prior to anyone providing the solution with proof. Credit will be given to the person or persons by way of an annotation in this video and by my posting of their link in this video's sidebar. It will probably take the likes of someone or some group who is very strong in the fields of chess, mathematics, and computer science to solve this problem. To those who attempt to find the solution, good luck.